Come on, boot up. Gee. Everything's running behind now. Come on, tablet, boot up. Oh, I got a story to tell you. 2 stories. First, my internet. I just got my internet back about 15 minutes ago. Come on, tablet, boot up. Boot up. Finally, Jesus.
Viewer discretion is advised. Go where no man has gone before. It'll make your head spin. It'll knock your socks off.
Broadcasting live from 70-degree downtown Cleveland, it's station WDWL TV, home of not 1, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and Mr. Oscar. And as we all know, if it's flashing, it's grumpy. And we're brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. Oh, I was sitting here about 5:30, and all of a sudden, my internet goes gone, disappears. So I look down, and there is a red light on both my router and my Wi-Fi. Not good. So I called Spectrum, and I said, my internet just went out. The girl says, hold on. You know, everything is over the air now. She goes, we're not showing a signal going into your house. I said, really? I said, let me go out and look. I go outside and look. And the cable coming from the pole is out in the street, and there ain't no cable in my house. I said, I know what the problem is. There ain't no wire in my house anymore. She goes, I'll put you right down. You'll be the next person on the repair list. Okay. It was about 6:10. Doorbell rings. Spectrum guy. He goes, I'm here to repair your internet. I said, good. Make it quick. I got to be on the air at 7 o'clock. So he he had to grab the cable out of the street, and then there's this little like curly Q hook up on the corner of my roof. Well, he takes this long pole and he hooks it into this curly Q hook, and then he's got the cable that comes down and goes into the house. So I didn't hear it, but it literally jerked the cable out of the house. I don't know how I didn't hear it. So he says, I can do one of two things. He says, I can do a temporary repair and splice and then run what I need to into your house, or I can call a bucket truck and run a brand new cable from the pole all the way. I said, do the splice. If the splice works, fine. So he says, can you go down in your basement and I'll fish you the... Yep. He runs the cable through. I says, how much do you need in here? He said, about 2 feet past where it connects. Okay, 2 feet. All right, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the house connection first, and then I'll do the splice, and we'll see if it works. Kid's working his ass off. I think he, got the impression that this was a real important show in order to get me back up with internet. I don't know, maybe he thought it was some big podcast or something. He gets all the connections taken care of in the house. He goes out, he makes the splice connection. He said, go check your router. I come in the house, 2 blue lights. Log in, internet. I said, we're good to go. He says, all right. Monday, you'll get a phone call when the bucket truck is going to come out and put a whole new cable in. I said, okay, works for me. You all done? He goes, if your internet's up and running, we're all done. I says, it's up and running. See ya. Then I'm in here frantic, trying to get shit to go. Finally, I looked at the clock and I go, oh, I'm a little late. I hit start and I'm watching to see, first of all, if the fucking tablet boots up, and second of all, if anybody shows up. So that's problem number one. But I'll tell you what, they were quick. And one thing, I hear a lot of people bitch about Spectrum. Their repairs, if say this area goes down, and say it's like noon, and they'll say, okay, your internet should be back up and running by 3 o'clock. Usually by 2. I think they give themselves an extra hour. They say, oh, we should have this done in 2 hours, but we'll say 3. And if they're, like a lot of times after 2 in the morning, they'll kill the internet for maybe half hour, 45 minutes to do updates and so on. I love them. Although I beat them into the ground on my internet service price, but I love them anyway. Because come next January, I'll be beating them into the ground again. But I've got my 1 gig. I do speed checks. I do a speed check like every 3 days. And I'm right up there. Because there's been a couple of times where I'll go to a website and it'll lag. And I immediately go to speed test and check my speed. And if it's still lagging, I know it's the website. But I love them. Man, that kid, he was scrambling to get shit hooked up back in the house. I didn't hear it. What happened was, one of the neighbors said, a big box truck came down the street, and evidently my cable must have been sagging and caught on the front of the box truck, and I'm sure the driver didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. I don't know what the hell I was doing. Well, I was sitting here. I didn't hear that cable jerk out of the house, but it did. It was out in the street. But they were Johnny on the spot. And then, if you look at the thumbnail, the Corvette is gone. I went past the house today because I usually check 2-3 times a week. I was there Monday. The car was there. I drove past Tuesday. The car was there. Behind a locked gate now. I drive past today, and there ain't a vehicle in the yard. Everything is gone. Now, there is a new owner for that house. He bought the house at sheriff's sale. But just because you own the house, you don't own the vehicles. And if you think they're all abandoned, you have to notify the owner. And the guy that bought the house at sheriff's sale has talked to the neighbor across the street who said, you know, Bill's still got everything in that house. It's got furniture, it's got, not to mention the cars. So I think the owner, wanting to clean up the house, called the towing company and had all of the cars dragged out. Now, I am going to find out who is the towing company. Because even though the car is gone, Monday I will own it. Because I told Bill I am going to create some shit in this city. Meet me at the title bureau. And we're going to do a title transfer. And then I'm going to show up at the house, and then I'm going to call the police. And I'm going to say, somebody stole my car. It was right there. It was right there. Behind that locked gate. So somebody had to unlock the gate in order to get my car, which I have pictures of it behind the locked gate. I have pictures of the car behind the locked gate. And I will have the title and the keys. And then hopefully we can find who the owner of the house is, because I'm going to get him in some shit too for scrapping my car. But mainly the towing company for towing it without a title. You can't legally take a vehicle if you're one of these we buy any car, scrap, like pull apart. Can't take a car without a title. And I will be the person with the title and the keys. And if the police say, why was the car there? I'll say, hey, don't know who owns the house. It's locked behind a gate. If I saw that lock off, then I'm breaking in. I've been trying. I said, go look on the door. On the front door is a big note. I'm buying this Corvette. Please call me so I can make arrangements. Big note. I put it inside one of these acetate folders and taped the end shut, and I slid it in behind the screen door and put tape on top and bottoms, and it was there Tuesday. I saw it on the door. My phone number. Call me. No phone call. So, Grumpy is in the mood to stir up some shit. And what I'm going to do when I find out who the towing company was that stole my car, I'm going to call 3, 5, 8, and Channel 19. Because I guarantee this shit goes on daily. These greedy towing companies that are out to supplement their income are snatching cars left and right. And you cannot legally take a vehicle without the title, which I will have. I am going to stir up some shit in this city. I am going to stir up some shit. Because I'll tell you what, I'm not so sure about Channel 3 and 5, but boy, Channel 8 is Johnny on the spot on shit like this. And that towing company ain't going to want publicity on TV, especially for stealing automobiles, because the city, I guarantee the city will pull their permits. Because you have to have a permit and a city issued license plate. It's a little license plate, about 4x4, and it says Cleveland tow truck and whatever numbers. Because if the tow truck does not have that plate, they are illegal and they are not allowed to operate in the city of Cleveland. And I'm sure they don't want to lose their permit to operate in the city, because a lot of these towing companies are working for whatever motor club is out there. There's more than all, AAA and Allstate. There's all kind of motor clubs. There's motor clubs for motorhomes. Because if you don't have a permit, you're not allowed to tow. And they don't want that kind of publicity. And I'll tell you what, they just fucked over the wrong guy. Because I'll tell you what, I'll stir up so much shit in this city, they'll smell the stink all the way out to California. Because I'm just the guy to do it. You know, there's a possibility I would have had to scrap that car. And there's a possibility I could have been driving it in a couple of weeks. Somebody stole it. Plain and simple. Because the owner of the house had no authority to have it removed. Because he did not file abandoned vehicle paperwork. Because had he filed abandoned vehicle paperwork, he has to at least attempt by certified mail to notify the owner. And if he would have gone to the title bureau, which you have to do for them to research the VIN number, it would have showed the title in that car being in Bill's name, with an address that he would have had to send a certified return receipt letter saying, I am filing for abandoned motor vehicle. What are you going to do? Which none of that was done. But they're all Bill said, everything? I said, yeah. The Chevy Nova that's broken half, gone. Dodge Dakota pickup, gone. What the hell was that other? Mazda Tribute, gone. Corvette, gone. Grumpy's going to have some fun. I guess maybe I should go to a barber and have this professionally styled so I look good on TV. Oh, they fucked with the wrong person. Believe me, they fucked with the wrong person. Because the neighbor across the street, I told Bill, give the neighbor my phone number. When someone shows up at that house, call me. I will immediately show up at that house. And I will also park my car across the apron so that he can't back out and leave. And then I will say, "Are you the owner of the house?" "Yes." "Where's my car?" "I had it scrapped." "You can't scrap it. You don't own it. Nobody gave you permission to scrap that car." "Who towed it?" Some towing company." "Hold on. Let me dial 911. Hold on. While I report a stolen motor vehicle and have the police come to this address." And I could see the guy going, "No. We're going to do this the right way." And then when the police show up, while he's somewhere changing his underwear, the shit will hit the fan. Because I will say, "Officer, this guy had my car stolen. Here's the pictures of it last week parked behind this gate." And the cop will say, "Well, why is it? Because nobody knows who owns this house. The owner just showed up. I was called by a neighbor so I could talk to the owner about getting my non-existent car out of the driveway." At which point, I'm sure the police will say, "What towing company towed that car?" And don't tell me you don't know, because they paid you for all of the cars that you had towed. XYZ Towing. Good. Now I know who stole my car. And I will show the cop the title, the keys, and the picture. My car. Stolen. And then whatever TV station decides to pick up the story, I'll say, "Let's go down to XYZ Towing and do an interview." Which they will, because that's big news. And the owner will be like, "Sorry, no comment." Yeah, I could see that coming. Talk to my attorney. But the story will then be out there. Because technically, the towing company stole that car. Because when I've junked cars, and I've junked a couple of them to a couple of different companies, like one of them is pedal.com, Pull Apart, I can't remember the third one. Like the second or third, well, they ask you a year, make, model, then a bunch of, does it have tires? And then title, yes, no. If you click no, you don't get a bid for the car. Oh God, Doug Adair, I don't even think he's still alive. He retired eons ago. I don't recognize. There's not a face on channel any of the news stations, local, that I recognize anymore. Even, Channel 19. Who was there forever? Denise DeFalla. She was there right out of college. And she ended up being the permanent anchor for ages. Doug Adair retired, probably 10 years ago. There is not a face that I recognize on, although I don't watch the local news. I turn it on in the morning. I usually 19, get the top stories, the weather, and then shut it off. The one day where the hell was I? I was over at Mary Ann's house. And it was right around news time. And I think she had 5 on. And I'm like, who are those people? Well, those are the new. I don't recognize anybody. I said, turn over at 8. Clicks 8. Who the fuck are those people? Where's all the gone, retired? The sad thing is, the girl that does the weather on Channel 8 has no fucking idea who Dick Goddard is. It's the Dick Goddard Weather Center. I guarantee you, she's like, who the hell is this guy? And then they have to educate her that he was, the #1 meteorologist with the meteorological seal of approval for years in this city. Because I remember Dick Goddard when he would be smoking his pipe while he was doing the weather. I'm not going to, no. Because nobody's going to, you think a towing company's watching me right now? And if they are, I hope they're shitting their pants. Because that car was stolen. Plain and simple. Nobody had authority except Bill to dispose of that vehicle. You can't just call, well, it's obvious. You call a towing company and say, hey, get these cars out of my driveway. And the towing company is as crooked as a stick for not asking, do you have a title for that Corvette? No? Well, sorry, I can't tow it. And I went in and researched the address of that house, and there are no court orders for disposal of vehicles. Because Bill would have had to been notified. So he just called some shyster outfit. Hey, I got 4 vehicles here I need off my property. They're abandoned. And some goddamn thieving shyster towing company came out and snatched them all, and I guarantee they paid him. Here, we'll give you 200 for this, and the Corvette, we'll give you 4, Because they bought them all, Well, the Nova don't count. But the Mazda and the Dodge Dakota and the Corvette, they buy them for the catalytic converters. Because catalytic converters at a boneyard, you're getting about $100 to $150 depending on the converter. And then they get scrap value for the rest of it. And I'm praying right now that car isn't a cube about 3 by 3 by 3. I'm hoping it's sitting in a towing yard right now. Because at least, if it is, I can get it. If it isn't, oh, the shit gonna hit the fan. Big time. No matter how you look at it, it is auto theft times 4. No way around it. That towing company stole all 4 of those cars. Just like some goddamn kid with his cell phone cracking a code on a Kia. And I guarantee you that's the same way the state of Ohio would look at it. Auto theft. And if they did it with these 4 cars, they have been doing it all along and getting away with it. But the buck is going to stop right here. And I pray to God that it wasn't next door. Because he advertises, I buy junk cars. I'm praying it ain't next door. I really am. Because I hate to ruin the guy. Because I guarantee he's probably got over $5 million in tow trucks. Because he's got a couple of them big honking monsters. And he tows for the highway patrol. When there's a semi on the freeway in an accident or broke down, he's one of the towers. And he don't want to lose that license. So Monday, or not Monday, well, Monday Jim's going to call me, or Bill's going to call me and let me know what day he can get off. And then we're just going to do a transfer of the title. And then I will have the legal title with my name, Grumpy Old Man, and the keys. And I'll even put them on a Chevy key ring. And when the police show up, I'll say, well, look, here, I own it, and here's the keys. If I didn't own it, I wouldn't have this title, and I wouldn't have these keys. And then I will show them the picture going, it was there Tuesday. I took pictures. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I can't wait. I'll have to make what's my better side for the camera. I'll be wearing my grumpy old man t-shirt with my grumpy old man hat. And maybe during the interview I should be standing next to the Passat with WDWL TV on the door. That'd look good on TV. WJW is filming WDWL TV. I can't remember the investigative reporter. I watched him a couple weeks ago. You talk about a junkyard dog. Oh, this guy will go apeshit. He will go apeshit with his story. And I pray it isn't next door. I really do. But he drives around the neighborhood, I buy junk cars. 8. WJW, Channel 8. Although the girl for Channel 3 is a junkyard dog too. Now, I haven't watched 5 for their investigative reports. But I know the guy for Channel 8, he's a pit bull. And the girl for Channel 3 is a pit bull too. I've seen her get a lot of doors slammed in her face. Knock, 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 door opens. Hi, well, that kind of ended that interview. That might be him. That could be him. I didn't catch the name. I watched the story. Because it was a fly-by-night aluminum siding outfit. And they were really doing shabby work. And they, on their I remember on their business card, bonded, licensed, insured. And they weren't even incorporated. And they were doing real shoddy aluminum siding jobs on houses. They were going to like the Home Depot, buying the aluminum siding, Had a magnetic sign on the door of their truck. Joe Fabitz, aluminum siding. But there is a auto theft times 4 right here. A guy? I thought that was a girl. Maybe it was 5. There was a female because she was she went to like 3 different places and had doors slammed in her face. I was like, boy, you ain't having a good day with this news story, are you? Of course, as soon as somebody opens a door, you get a microphone stuck in your face. Yeah. See ya. Yeah, see, Peter Fleischer, I have no idea who he is. He's new. Well, new within the last 10 years. I don't recognize anybody. 35819. That's what happens when you get your news off the internet. You lose touch with your locals. Because, God, it's, man, it's got to be, oh, man, 3 years, 4 years? I was sitting in Julie's living room and she put the news on. I went, who are these people? Where's so-and-so? And she went, oh, he retired like 5 years ago. I was like, oh, man, I'm out of touch. All guys. Oh, yeah, Mike Mason. Yeah, 19. Yeah, Mike, I recognize him. But there was a woman doing the news story. Maybe she was filling in for one of them. Because she was having a bad day. Now, Mike Mason, now he's another one I would call. Because he's a junkyard dog, too. I mean, most of these investigative reporters are pricks. And Mason, I watched, and they love shit like this. I'll tell you what, they would almost pay me for this news story. Because they just love busting rackets like these towing companies have. Of just somebody calls and said, take that car, and they take it. And you can't legally do that unless you have a court order or a title. And there has been no court order issued for that property to take those 4 vehicles. Because the title for the house, just within the last 2 weeks, transferred because it was hung up in court due to the probate mess. As a matter of fact, he bought the house. I don't think he's got... No, he doesn't. He don't own the house yet. That's right, because Bill was telling me it's tied up in probate due to that sheriff's sale. He had no authority to do what he did. And he's been going in and out of the house. Evidently, he had a locksmith come out and make him keys because Bill still got the keys to the house. That had to be her then. It was a girl or a woman. That had to be her. Because it was a female getting her 3 times. She had doors slammed in her face. Yeah, remember last week. Because I asked Bill, I said, who bought the house? And he goes, I don't know yet because it's tied up between the probate court and the sheriff's office. So that guy doesn't own that house yet. He had no authority to do what he did. Accessory to auto theft. That would be like me calling a towing company and saying, hey, that red car next door is abandoned. Will you get it out of that yard? And then they tow Mary Ann's little Hyundai, whatever the hell that little dipshit shoebox she's driving. She asked me today. She goes and buys her LDs down at the gas station. Well, they raised the price, and they raised the price like 80 cents a pack. So she goes, what do you pay at Brothers? I said $5.60. So today she goes, can you go with me? Yeah. What, are you afraid to walk in the store? So we go in the store, and I introduce her, and I told Big Brother, this is my neighbor. When she comes in, take good care of her. And I said to Mary Ann, while we're here, walk around the store. See if, get an idea of what they carry in case you need something. But I told her, if you go in and there's a short guy behind the counter, that's the other brother who, in no way, shape, or form, looks like his older brother. They look like they came from two different mothers. Really? There is no way, with them standing side by side, I would ever think they're cousins, maybe. Because I asked Big Brother, I said, that's your little brother? Mm-hmm. Then I didn't want to insult him, and I said, same parents? Little brother, no way, shape, or form even resembles Big Brother. The voices are different. So I told Mary Ann, if there's a little short guy, that's the other brother. Introduce yourself. Oh, I'm praying. I am praying it's not him. Now, I would tend to think the Corvette might be sitting, if I don't want to point a finger, but if that would be sitting in his yard, because he's got all kinds of gumbares that would probably be interested in buying a 40-year-old Corvette. But I have the sneaking hunch it's a cube right about now. Because most of these outfits, they strip off the parts real quick and then they crush them. They'll whack the catalytic converter off, maybe take the aluminum rims and any other usable parts, pull a radiator, and then crush it. And if now there's a possibility of three different, because the guy that ordered them removed, the towing company that towed them, and the scrapyard that actually accepted those cars for scrap without paperwork. Three different, because when they tow a car in to be scrapped, if they don't own the facility has to say, okay, you got 3 cars there, give me 3 titles. Yeah, when the tow truck pulled in the driveway, the owner should have said, okay, first car in the drive is a Corvette. Here's the title. Then the towing company is either the scrapping agency or they're taking it to an auto wrecking yard, which at one point when they pull in the yard, whoever is managing that yard should say, okay, you got a Corvette on the flatbed, give me the title before you drop it. Because the towing company is paying the guy that they picked it up from, and then the auto wrecking yard is paying the towing company. And nobody should get paid without that fucking title that next week will be in my name. And once I have that Ohio title in my name, the shit's gonna hit the fan. Plain and simple. They fucked with the wrong person. They fucked with the wrong person. Because I have the time on my hands, and I'm a rotten bastard that will push this as far as it can go. It would be nice to get the car back, but I highly doubt it. But I will have the title and the keys as proof that I own that car. And I didn't give permission for anybody to scrap it. Because I was going to fix it. Well, get it running. I wasn't really going to do much with the body and the paint. There was a towing company 4 or 5 years ago. It was, matter of fact, all 4 stations picked it up. They would drive up and down the freeway. And if there was a car on the side of the road and no one was with it, they would hook that car and scrap it. And they finally got caught. You know, not everybody that owns a cell phone carries it all the time. So some poor sap breaks down and he has to, hike up to a phone. And when he comes back, the car is gone. And they had been doing this for like 7 months. They would cruise up and down 90, 480, and 71. And they mainly did it at night. And if there was a car on the side of the road with no one with it, they would snatch it. Because 99% of the vehicles are front-wheel drive. And if you don't set your emergency brake, your rear axle spins free. So they back up with a wheel lift, they pick the front end of the car up, they ratchet it down, and they go. Because there's nothing holding them back. And if it happens to be rear-wheel drive, it is very easy to disconnect the shift linkage and put it in neutral. And that's the problem with front-wheel drive cars, because people don't use their e-brake. I use mine constantly. Of course, I don't like leaving a car in gear. It's technically bad for the transmission. So I put mine in neutral and I pull my e-brake, which works perfect. And if you go to pick up the front end of my car to steal it, you're dragging the rear wheels. Now, with a flatbed, who cares? They drag it up, ratchet it down, and go. But this towing company, matter of fact, the owner is making license plates. They were doing it at night for like 6 or 7 months to make extra money. And the auto wrecking yard they were taking them to got into trouble for the same reason. Because what this towing company, they had the key for the lock on the gate. They would hook a car off the freeway, go to this wrecking yard, unlock the chain, open the gate, drive in, drop it, pull back out, chain the gate shut, and on their way. The wrecking company personnel would come in the morning and go, "Oh, ZYX Towing brought 5 cars in last night. Okay, we owe them $2,000. And then they would pull all the good parts and then crush them right away. So you would go in and you say, "I need a radiator for an Audi A4. Oh, we got one right here." You are buying stolen parts, and you don't know it. That's why the manufacturers on the newer cars put serial numbers on the fenders, and on the hood and on the doors and the deck lid. And if you buy a door and somebody scrapes that VIN number off, you could guarantee that's a stolen part. Because I have bought used parts, and when I get the part on the receipt, it's got the VIN number of the car it was removed from. I just bought 2 headlight assemblies for the Passat because the headlights were so fogged I couldn't. I bought 1 headlight assembly from a wrecking yard somewhere in Wyoming, and the second headlight assembly from a wrecking yard in Beaumont, Texas. And when I got the headlight assemblies, on the receipt and there was a tag attached, was the VIN number of the car that it came off of. Now, they don't put the VIN numbers on the headlight assemblies, but on my receipt, it said 2002 Volkswagen Passat, VIN number WXYZ, whatever. They have to do that. And if you go out and you look on your vehicle, I guarantee if you open the hood, there's a label with your VIN number. If you look on the edges of your fenders, there's a label with the VIN number. You open the deck lid, there's a label with the VIN number. Now on pickup trucks, I don't know if there's one hidden in the tailgate, but there are VIN number stickers all over these cars nowadays, just for this purpose of buying stolen parts. Because for some reason, if the police department would come and go, hey, you got 2 headlights. Where's your paperwork? And they do that mainly to eliminate these chop shops. Because if I buy a salvage vehicle and I rebuild it, when I go to the highway patrol for the inspection, I have to have receipts for every part that I bought, showing where they came from and the VIN numbers of the vehicles they came off of. And the highway patrol will search them VIN numbers and go, okay, yeah, all right, that car was scrapped. That car was a total loss. Now, I don't see too many people looking to buy a hood from an 84 Corvette. I really, really think it's in a cube right now. Or flattened. Some places they have these big weights that they drop and they flatten them, or they take a front end loader and they crush them and they stack them on goddamn semi trailers that take them out to agencies that grind them up. Every now and then you'll see a flatbed with 50 cars stacked on it. And they're like pancakes. I have the sneaking hunch that's the way the Corvette looks about now. But this is going to be one hell of a story for an investigative reporter, because we got the guy that bought the house, we got the towing company that picked it up, and possibly a auto wrecking yard that accepted that car from the towing company. None of the three people have titles. Yeah, there's a yard up on 130th, and they use a big goddamn front end loader, and they just keep dropping the bucket until the car is like 2 feet tall, and then they pick it up and they stack it on a trailer. And when they get 5 or 6 levels high, then they chain them down and take them out. It used to be an old impound lot, and then the city, I think they lost their permit, and now it's an auto crushing place. I should stop there tomorrow and see if my Corvette's in there. Hopefully uncrushed. Because I'll tell them, that's a stolen car there, pal. So just leave it over on the side, and the police will be here to check it out. I hope Bill, see, I think today was his day off, which means he probably won't have a fucking day off until next Saturday, which ain't going to do me much. Well, there is a Title Bureau open on Saturday, but the line is usually 300 miles long. Because once I have the title and the keys in my hand, the shit's gonna hit the fan. Big time. Big time. And Grumpy is gonna have fun. I'm kind of getting excited already. You know, a story like this could go national. Because I guarantee this happens across the United States. And they buy these cars mainly for the catalytic converters. Because that is one of the questions that these companies, does it have catalytic converter? They don't care if it has an engine or transmission. They want that catalytic converter. Because there was a court case it was in Judge Simpson's court, and the guy got arrested for stealing catalytic. Matter of fact, he got caught underneath a car by the police with a goddamn saw. And he had like 10 catalytic converters in the back seat of his car. And the police had video of him at Home Depot buying saw blades. And when they arrested him, there were saw blades in the bag with a receipt on the front seat of the car. And what he would do is go in shopping centers and crawl underneath with a chop saw and whack the converters off a car and take off. And then the poor people come out and they start their car and it sounds like a 1946 Mack dump truck. And they're like, holy shit, what the hell happened? And I think, well, I know he had to pay restitution for like five catalytic converters that they knew he stole. And I think he got 2 years in jail. And the restitution was unreal because people had to have whole complete exhaust systems put back on their car. Because the one car alone was like $1,800. Catalytic converters bring anywhere from $50 to $150 a piece. And some cars, like this goddamn green thing I've got, have 2 converters on them. I couldn't believe it when that thing was up on the rack. That goddamn Passat has 2 catalytic converters. And it's single exhaust, not dual. It's got a main converter right up in the front that feeds into another converter behind it. In line, there are 2 goddamn converters and 4 oxygen sensors. Each converter's got 2 oxygen sensors in it. God forbid something, oh. There's no way I looked at it, I was like, what the hell? And some cars have 4. So if you whack 4 converters off one car and they're worth $150 a piece, that's not a bad day's income. If you're supplementing your income or if you have no income. And this guy was doing it daily. Because I remember Judge Simpson saying, how long does it take you to get a converter off a car? And the guy said, less than 2 minutes. With new saw blades. Yeah, he had I think when he got caught, he had 10 in the back seat and number 11 that he had just cut off the car. You don't have to jack the cars up or anything. You slide underneath. You get your old zip saw. Off you go. Because when I had to junk my 94 Ford Ranger, the converter had fallen off of it. The exhaust system, it let go on the freeway one day. It fell off. I wasn't going to turn around and get it. I saw it go off the side of the road. I was like, thank God nobody hit it. And I just put a straight pipe and then a cherry bomb muffler. It was a 94. It didn't need an E-check. Cherry bomb sounded cool. Or was it a thrush? I think it was a cherry bomb. Sounded mean for a little four-banger. I tried to sell it to Pull Apart, Pedal, and Wheezy. Wheezy. There's a good one that buys junk cars. Wheezy. No catalytic converter. They weren't interested in the car, the truck. So a friend of mine had a repair garage, and I went up one day. I said, you got any catalytic converters you don't need? And he goes, well, I got a pile over there I'm going to take to the scrapyard. Take one. So I took one. It wasn't even for a Ford. So I contacted, who the hell, Pull Apart. Do you have a catalytic converter? Yes. They offered me like $300. The first question the guy asked me, first question was, you got a title? Yes. You got a catalytic converter? Yes. It's in the bed. He looked at me. I said, yeah, I'm just open the goddamn. I had a cap on it. I said, open the and look. There's a converter in the bed. He picked it up. He went, okay. And then he paid me for the truck and took it. I says to him, there's nothing that said it had to be attached. I said the goddamn converter fell off a couple of months ago. I said, if you look underneath, there's a goddamn straight pipe and cherry bomb. I said, the only reason I'm junking the truck is the clutch let go. And I'm not putting another clutch in this truck. Because the guy that put the replacement clutch in fucked it up from day one. And then it finally went and I got rid of it. I mean, he looked at me in the bed. I said, nobody said, is it attached to the car? They said, do you have a catalytic converter? Yes. It's off a Chevy, but it's a converter. Okay. Yeah, because Ford has a round converter. Chevy's got that long, flat one, or they used to have that pancake. I said, yeah, it's off a Chevy, but it's a converter. Okay. Give me my money. Pay me. So, I will keep you posted when the fun starts. And I'll have to figure out if it hits the air, how to get the news story up on the website here. I would almost guarantee I could get all 4 news stations. Although usually when one does I could guarantee all 4 news stations, because then this starts an investigation into the towing industry. Got bright here all of a sudden. Because we're not talking just Cleveland. This, a story like this could go nationwide. Because towing companies are doing this in every goddamn state. It's not just here. If you got a shyster outfit, they're everywhere. And I guarantee this towing company that took these vehicles, this ain't their first time. I guarantee it. But it will be their last. I hate to put anyone out of a job, because tow truck drivers don't make that much. They're out there busting their ass in all kinds of shitty weather, because I did it. Nothing worse than being out on the freeway in a blinding snowstorm and cars throwing slush all over you while you're trying to hook up a car. And you're worried about, am I going to get killed by some idiot sliding into me? So it's a thankless job. It really is. Rarely do you hear anybody go, gee, thanks for the tow. Now, I always tip the driver. Like the other day, when the fucking ground cable came loose, the guy was Johnny on the spot. He was very polite, was neat, because that's a greasy, shitty job, and he let me ride in the truck. Because since COVID, they don't let anybody in the trucks anymore. And like Yahoo next door, he's got trucks with back seats. He has the stretched cab trucks. Not allowed to ride. Why buy that big fucking truck that you could put a family in and say, nope, you can't ride in a truck? Because when I called for road service, I said, I don't want to hear you can't ride in the truck. And the guy said, well, these towing companies. I said, then you shouldn't sign them up. You're going to leave me stuck without a ride? And then the guy from, oh man, I called Allstate back when I got home. The guy goes, well, you know, there is Uber and Lyft. What? You want me to call an Uber to go to the repair shop where you're towing my car? I said, no fucking way. And then when I got home, I bitched Allstate out. I said, you're going to leave a senior citizen stranded with groceries? Well, let's towing company make their policy. I said, then you shouldn't sign them up. I said, what if this was the middle of winter and a blinding snowstorm? You're going to leave me out there to fucking freeze to death? Well, it's a towing company. That's all I kept hearing. It's a towing company's policy. I said, well, yeah, I could see in 2020 and maybe in 2021. We're in 2026. And your companies have tow trucks with back seats. Well, he just bought another flatbed. I was overlooking at it. As a matter of fact, he hadn't even had his name on it yet. He had to take it down to get the decals put on. Freightliner. Comfy back seat. Oh my God, you could sleep in the back of that truck. They buy these goddamn cabs extended where this one you could have put a small Puerto Rican family in it. And they say, nope, you can't ride in the truck. Nope. 2 years ago, now, get this. Tow truck shows up. What the hell? The RAV4. I can't remember. It wouldn't start. Tow truck shows up. Guy loads the RAV4 on the flatbed. I didn't ask. I walked over and went to open the door. And he had this goddamn German Shepherd that looked like a black bear in the front seat. And I said, where am I going to sit? Well, sorry, I always carry my dog. What do you do with customers? Do I stand on the running boards and hold on to the mirror? Well, sorry. I said, well, sorry for you. Drop the fucking car, and I'm going to call Allstate back until I can get somebody I can ride in a truck. I said, drop the car. And I said, as a matter of fact, you got a direct number to the dispatch center, so I don't have to go through all that bullshit, press this, say that, and tell them I'm demanding a towing company that can take me to the repair shop. Thank God I didn't open the fucking door. It probably would have ripped my face off. It was a fucking bear in the front seat. You shouldn't be towing for Allstate if your passenger happens to be a fucking black bear. you see, the last time when the fucking axle fell out of it, they had a sign right on the door, on the right door. No passengers allowed. And when I saw the sign, I said, before you pick the car up, am I going to be able to go to the repair shop with you? Well, the company policy, don't tell nobody. Okay, I won't until I get on the internet tonight, and then everybody will know I rode in your truck. Yeah, they had a big sign on the door. No passengers allowed. What are you going to do? What if there was like a family with 3 little kids in a rainstorm or a snowstorm? You're going to make them stand on the side of the road, wait for a lift or an Uber? Meanwhile, you've got a goddamn truck that a family of 10 could sleep in comfortably. Looks like a motorhome. Oh, that new truck he's got was gorgeous. You could live in the back seat of that truck. Of course, he don't buy. When he buys a tow truck, it's not low end. Especially that big fucking honking Peter or Kenworth. Holy shit. Although I call him a sissy because it was an automatic. I said, don't you know how to drive a Road Ranger 10 speed? Automatic and a tow truck? You sissy. That's what I said to him. I call him a sissy. You sissy. You can't drive a 10 speed? Automatic transmission. You're right, they don't. Because I'm not paying them. They're getting paid from Allstate. Fuck the customer. Hey, I'm getting paid to tow your car, not your ass. Call an Uber. Well, that's the guy from Allstate, the dispatcher. Can't you call someone? No, I can't. Now, I could call Marianne and she would have come and got me. I don't want to inconvenience her. When we were towing, the last company I worked for, we worked for like 12 different motor clubs. I hadn't realized there were that many. People always got in the truck with me. Here, wait a minute. Let me move my lunch and my clipboard out of the way. Make yourself comfortable. You want me to turn the heat up? Of course, that was pre-COVID, but we're wearing that excuse out. We are wearing that excuse out. Oh, the dispatcher tells me, well, since COVID. When's the last time you saw somebody wearing a mask? Now, every now and then I do, but they got it under control. Well, they'll never really have it under control, but it's not a pandemic. Maybe somebody in Left Snowshoe, Idaho just came down with it, but what the hell happened on that one cruise ship? Some cruise ship, everybody got sick. I was reading that the other day. Some cruise ship. They wouldn't even allow the goddamn boat to dock at the port because a bunch of people were sick. And I even told the tow truck driver, I said, you know, I'm tired of hearing COVID, 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 COVID. I said, we're wearing that out. And even he agreed, but he said, I don't make the policy. But he let me ride in the truck. We went 3 blocks. And I'll tell you what, I was impressed. That truck was spotless. And he told me it was 4 years old. The interior was spotless. That guy takes good care of his truck. He really does. Because I even asked him, you drive this every day? Yeah, I'm assigned to this truck. I said, man, it looks like new in here. He goes, well, I'd like to keep it that way. Black guy, probably in his 30s. Really nice guy. Him and I had a nice little chat going up to Brian's. I says to him, I said, this thing is spotless. He goes, yeah. I'm in it 12 hours a day. It's my office. I like a nice, neat office. I said, well, it is. Because I'll tell you what he did that really impressed me. He took his work boots off and he put on athletic shoes to drive the truck. And he put the work boots in the back on a floor mat. Then when he got ready to drop the car, he took the shoes off and put the work boots back on. That's a guy that really takes care of his truck. Because he wouldn't even put his dirty work boots on the pedals. It was an extremely clean truck. Now, like I told him, you should oil your winch cable. It's a little rusty. I said once a week you should pull the cable all the way off that winch and re-roll it really nice and oil it while it's going on. You'll save cables that way. He says, I never thought of that. You're a tow truck driver. That cable is your money maker. You break that cable, you ain't doing nothing until you put a new cable on. Just a hint to all you tow truck drivers. Neatly roll your cable and keep it oiled. It'll make your cable last. Take it from an old crab-ass tow truck driver that used to do it once a week. And try doing it on a big honking heavy-duty wrecker that's got a cable about the diameter of a $50. That ain't easy to pull off a winch, even when you got the winch in freewheel. And it ain't easy to roll back up. But I did it. What I would do, I would pull the cable off, and then I would chain it to an old semi-tire in rim for the weight. And then get up on the back end and roll the winch in, and you got enough drag on the cable to give you a little stability. Another hint to you tow truck drivers. I don't miss those days. God, I remember doing a goddamn rollover on I-71 2 days before Christmas in a goddamn whiteout snowstorm. I couldn't feel my hands. I couldn't feel my feet. I couldn't feel my ass. Thank God the truck had a flaming heater in it. And that's all that God, the trailer wanted to slide this way and slide that way. And I didn't think I'd ever pull that son of a bitch over. Finally got the thing back on its wheels. And then, of course, you got to de-rig and put all the chains away and wind in the cable, then pull around and lay in the slop and slush to hook the goddamn truck up. Then you got to run air so that you have brakes. Oh, I think I was out 7 hours on that fucking wreck. The glory of driving a tow truck in Cleveland. And Kathy, since you're familiar, 90% of the goddamn rollovers were at Dead Man's Curve. Because these goddamn truckers would ignore all the signs that slow down, slow down, slow down. They try to take Dead Man's Curve at 70 miles an hour and then wonder why the truck rolled over. Although whoever built a freeway with a 90-degree turn should have been shot. Because that's what Dead Man Curve is. A fucking 90-degree curve. And it's a tight 90-degree curve. So if you're honking down the road and you enter that curve at 60 or 70, you're going over. And most of them did. My truck had a cassette player in it. And if I had to take the driver with me if he wasn't injured, I would put Dead Man's Curve on the stereo. Won't come back from Dead Man's Curve. Boom, 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 boom. Drivers didn't think it was funny, but I enjoyed the piss out of it. I'd say to the driver, now do you know why they call this Dead Man's Curve? You get the idea? Did you see all them signs that said slow down 40 miles an hour? You weren't doing, well, maybe 40 as you impacted and slid on your side. That, I'll tell you what, they looked at studies, how to redesign that part of the freeway, and they couldn't. They don't have the land or anything. Cleveland's famous for Dead Man's Curve. We really are. Holy shit! Are you late? It's 9 o'clock. Your belly alarm just went off? Yeah, his belly alarm just went off. I know, feed me. Well,
That's it, I'm through.
thanks for hanging in so long, everybody. I lost track of time, although time does fly when you're having fun. Especially talking about stirring up some shit. We know where, right here, WDWL TV, home of not one but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and an Oscar. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging in there and waiting until I got on the air. And I thank Spectrum for busting ass to get me back up and running. But with that, have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night. Take care, everyone. See ya.